So I'm going to give you a first overview of the itinerary. So this is the Ersitong area is China. It's about the same size of the continental United States. And the eastern part of China, which is the most populated part of China, probably holds population 3 to 5 times as dense as the United States. And so my journey started in Hong Kong. I landed in Hong Kong. And from Hong Kong, it took about another day of travel to a very small eco-village called Qixi. And the reason which I landed there is because for the last 5 years, I've been teaching the body of work arising out of Resonance Past Institute called the Resonance Code. And I've been teaching it in China on Zoom. So people from all over the country can join. But gradually there will be a group of students who concentrated in this area, which is probably one of the most fast rising developmental zone in China. And so because a lot of my students are from that place, so they handled all the underground logistic and arrangement, and they chose this eco-village about 1.5 hour drive from Shenzhen, which is a very large metropolitan area. So I stayed there for quite a while, for several weeks, mostly running workshops and connecting with people and learning about this eco-village. And then I traveled to Zhejiang province, which is about 2 hours train ride to Shanghai, where I was born. And one of my primary collaborator in China, she lives in close to another eco-village in this place. So I stayed there and learned about this place for another 3 weeks. And from there, I traveled to Beijing. The primary reason going to Beijing is because my mother's family lives in Tianjin, which is about 1 hour train ride from Beijing. And that's where I spent most of my childhood. And from Beijing, I traveled to southwestern China, Sichuan province. That's where my father's village was. And it's I think one of the most important thing happening this trip is for the first time I landed in my father's ancestral village and met many of my relatives, uncles and aunts and cousins and nephews who I've never met before. It's like a whole clan of people that I related with me, but I've never met them before. So after that, I did another short trip to this second eco-village, and from there I went back to the first eco-village. So it's kind of like like a two spirals of journey. And so I'm going to start my story from the first eco-village. And this is the blow up of this area down here, this area, which is called the Big Bay area. And that's where, so about 20 years ago, this area is completely raw, almost completely raw land. There's not even bus running. And in 20 years, I'm going to show you the next picture. This happened. And tens and millions of people were swarmed in, and many things you probably lay around on your phone, your electronics, the parts. Many of the things we use, they are a tremendous manufacture, import, export place. And the other day I was at my neighbor's who works at who does what do you call this? They do vapors for marijuana, the weed, and the vapor was manufactured in Shenzhen, even though marijuana was is illegal in China. Anyway, it's just that this place is such a tremendous, holds tremendous energy and so incredibly dense. And this is what I want to show you is that even though my story mostly concentrated on these eco-village, which are small, like the eco-village I went to, it would, you can walk the perimeter in an hour. The backdrop is this. The most of China, the most of places I travel through is this incredible, like really dense human building, development, business, traffic, smell, and it's really hard actually for me to pierce through that density to arrive at where I want to go because I have to. You have to go through these big city hubs to get to anywhere. It's really like swimming through like waves and huge oceans to arrive at the oasis of the island. I just want to, give you this background as we tour this eco village through my story. So here's another view. This is shot at about 28th floor of a friend's apartment, and it just miles and miles of high-rise and apartments that I can to the end of my eyesight. And this is actually another city. It's not a Shenzhen in southwest China. It shows you, yeah, they preserved the ancient city, which is about here, and then behind it is the newly developed city. So it's kind of the landscape of my China experience is the ancient to modern and to something emerging. So after a pretty grueling 2 days of traveling, I finally arrived at my destination, which is called Qixi. It's in Guangdong province. Then you can see how relieved I felt in this picture. So the walking with me is Lu Jing, who's my assistant for the last 5 years. And even though we worked together online for 5 years, this is like this is within 24 hours after I met her in person. We were exceedingly happy to be in this. It's a little valley, and this village, for a miraculous reason, has escaped the modern development, even though it's so close to such a hub, such Shenzhen, the huge kind of metro hub. And this is also not uncommon. There are many small villages, pockets of places that was not touched by modern development. And many of the eco-village springing up from China was kind of like a rebirth of these ancient village that like people from the big city come back to this ancient village and started something anew from on the top of the old. So, and when we got there, it was the harvest. So this eco-village, the main produce are herbs, medicinal herbs. And this is a flower called shoot, I forgot the English name. That's the one thing is after living in China for 2.5 months, many of the English words that I don't use often has dissolved from my central nervous system. I forgot the name of this herb in English. The name of this herb in Chinese has a very pretty name. It's named after a goddess. So I was standing in the field of this herb, appreciating the beauty around me. It's just that after traveling through that metropolitan, humongous ocean of metropolitan area, arriving at this oasis of nature feels extra special and precious. So let's see. So here are some scenes of the buildings in that village. It's surrounded by bamboo forests. There's some, a newly built building that mimic the old structure, and also the old houses. Some of the old houses were preserved. And this is Auntie Lai, who runs a community kitchen. So many of so you probably are wondering, who are these people who living in the eco village? So many are these people who are highly educated, either highly educated or people who were native to this village, but they all share the common kind of orientation is they felt the disease of the highly modern. Many of them actually incurred some physical ailment and needs a place to restore their body and soul and heart. And so this Auntie Lai, her daughter, was one of the founders of this village, which I'll show very soon about founders. And so here are, so they try to use organic, like all the kind of the washing, their soap, their dishwashers, detergent, everything kind of produced locally, and try to diminish the chemical pollution. And so here, shown here, Lin Jie, this is Lin Jie and her husband, and we call her husband Boss Lin. So they are the founder of this village, and so both of them were they were born in like rural village in China before industrialization took off. And they started as he started as a carpenter, and in about 30 years, they now own like they're practically billionaires. Their companies sell furnitures, and they have and many people are like that in China, business people who rose out of nothing and amassed tremendous amount of wealth and power, power to influence both economically, politically, and also in people's mind and thoughts. And so Lin Jie, at the peak of her career and her business development, she felt the call of the land, basically. She had her third child, and she felt she really wanted to provide her daughter an environment the way like she grew up, because she felt such, despite her business success, she still kept this longing, her heart longing, and connection with the nature. So she bought, or she leased, I think in China you cannot really own, but she leased this land from the government. And for the first 5 years, she kind of just let the land to regenerate and did nothing on it. And then after 5 years, she invited organic farmers and or permaculture, or different people who are interested in organic farming to create this eco village. And after that, many young people, younger generation, people standing behind her, are in their 30s and 40s, and many of them with the similar kind of kind of aspiration came to this place and co-create this village. And this village, there's no central governing body. It's a kind of a organically self-organizing, loosely held organization. There's many individuals, each running their own business, and they all held by the land and their common kind of vision, and a lot of interaction and relationship with each other. Oh, this is interesting. You must be wondering what's going on here. So this picture is called Western influence. So I want to just share that the so behind me is a building called White House. It's immediately next to the village, like right next to the entrance of the village. And when I saw this first, I was like shocked. And then I did a little bit of internet research, and I realized there are about like 50 uh, architecture, at least 50 architectures around China that mimic the architecture of White House. Um, so this is kind of a characteristic of Chinese culture is that um, Chinese were very curious and inquisitive, and so part of the expression of curiosity is mimicry. I think in a collective culture, mimicking is not it's actually held as a great art. So so I was like really having fun with this. The juxtaposition of this White House and eco village is, and this is a kind of like constant experience in China. It's just as you were taking in one scene in one frame, next to it will be another frame that's completely opposite energy and shocks your frame, just rattles the previous frame. And then the next frame will rattle the previous frame. So David, you have a question. You raised your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Spring. It's great to see you and to hear this story. And I have an appointment, so I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But before I go, I'm really curious if you could like offer me a summary thought about these juxtapositions that you're seeing between, you know, the history of China with Confucianism and Taoism in its history, and then communism, and now in recent history, so much of kind of industrial. I don't know if you can call it capitalism, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely industrialization and growth in the economy and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, what do you think are some essential characteristics that are from those that are like starting to predominate? I'm hearing elements of people achieving, having achieved, wealth, and then like realizing that there's still an emptiness there, that we're all longing
Mm-hmm.
for something from the past that they want to
Mm-hmm.
bring forward. So I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about that angle of things before I have to leave. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for that question, David. It's interesting what you just said, the ancient history, industrialization, capitalism, all of this kind of like are human, what human has built, human construct. And they all are in China. And they are you will find places to embrace them wholeheartedly, like I just said. And and I think in Chinese culture, what's to me that's important is the recognition of what's holding all of them, which is the earth underneath us. And that earth extends into our body. So our body is actually an expression of the earth. So a big theme, for example, in the eco village, like people have different views, different backgrounds, different mental structures. They arrive there, but one theme that connects, that is very common, not just in this eco village, but in many eco village, is food production and health. And and food and wellness in Chinese culture is not just about nourishing, myself, but it's actually nourishing the ancestor and the land that's held by the body. So there's a sacredness, in a way, like a food is the healthy. So the way people cook, the way people feed themselves and feed each other, takes on the sacredness of the ritual to um, to yeah, respect the land that helps us all. So I think there's a sense of, so that's my first answer. And second answer is that because of that strong container of holding all of that, there's a sense of, okay, how can we play with all of this? So every single of these innovate person who come to ecovillage, they're innovators. They take some of the ancient culture, they take some of they use capitalism, they use AI, they use modern technology, and they melt them together. I mean, they don't. Everyone has their own kind of like selection palette, and they create some kind of unfolding tapestry that cannot be. I think the way this is developing is faster than our mind can grasp, can think. So I don't know if I answers your question. Do you have a parting thought before you leave?
Not really. That was really rich. Thank you. Um, yeah, and I'm thinking about in terms of the eco village, how much communism is coming forth there in the eco village? Is there still a positive embrace of communist ideals?
This is a longer discussion because what does communism mean? I think it means vastly different things depending on our background. One thing I want to say is that um, this particular eco-village, not all eco-village, but this particular eco-village has a very strong tie with the government. And the regeneration of rural China has become one of the most important policies, national policies. Of course, what that means, how it filters through a pretty I, I was going to say corrupted, but a massive, not overburdening system is different in every place. Uh, but in this particular one, they actually received a lot of governmental support. And I know that for like when I came back to the United States, many people are asking me about how do people navigate the communist control of the authoritarian control, all of that. So that's a whole nother chapter. It requires a deeper examination. Yeah. So um, I think but the bottom line is it trains me to be always in a place of not knowing. Because just as you think you know something, something else will show up to lap that, wipe that knowing off the table. So, and so this is so I'm just going to continue. Thank you, Dave, and I'm going to continue my presentation. Um, so, so arriving in Qixi village, one of my job is to deliver a series of workshops to students that who have followed me in the last 5 years. And as we settled down, they gradually arrived. And we were having such a good time together because it feels like a reunion with people we've never physically met. So the Linjie, the founder of the village, runs a health store and a restaurant. We had many meals there, and many of you know that I am involved in the musical production of a movie called Dancing with the Dead, a movie about Chinese poetry, a translator of Chinese poetry and a Chinese hermit. So I brought that movie back, and people in the village are viewing the movie. And you can see this is kind of the night view of the village. So for as far as the workshop, so this is so I'm going to show you just a little pictures of the workshop, and then I'll show a short video. So most of these workshop the primary content is about regeneration of the earth within our body. It's how to inhabit our body in a way that resonates with that earth energy. So there's a lot of wild energy released in each one of us and in between each one of us. And then I'm going to show you this video that gives you a glimpse of the workshop. Hold on just a second. Let me see. If I want to share a video, do I have to? I need to do some video. Zoom technology. I think. Oh yeah, video file. So I need to just bear with me for a moment. Can you see the video? Hear it well? Okay. 香樟树下，古老的村庄，竹林清风祖先的祝福，绿意盎然，心灵的家园，希望的种子撒在心田。村头的溪水流传的故事，春夏秋冬自在的岁月，宁静的天地归属的港湾，阳光洒落藏在远方的路，金盏花的灿烂，也将花的芬芳，天才根的甘美，洛神花点燃了火烧云，香草相伴，智慧生根，传承的河流，唱着梦想的歌。Hey, how do I get back there? Oh. Okay, so that's the first segment. We can have a discussion, question and answer for about 12 minutes, and then I'll beginning of my journey. Vicky.
Thank you, Spring. That was lovely. Do you have, is that a traditional song that you were all singing, or was that your song that you taught?
It's my song. So it's a song that I wrote after I got there. I was staying in the founder's house. They're not their house, not their home, but kind of a hostel they built. And I saw some card they made for herbs. and I was reading those herbs because in Chinese culture, herbs has been used as a metaphor for the inner stage. So I was reading those cards and feeling connected with each herb, and then the song came, and there's a lot of herb spirit waving through the song. Yeah. So the last line of the lyric is herb, the spirit of herb is my companion, um, wisdom taking root, and the river of tradition is weaving a new dream.
Thank you.
Spring, I don't know whether you can see my hand.
Yeah, I
Hello.
am. Yes.
Yes. I was wondering, are your students mostly women? Or
Yes, you
I
can.
saw very few men in the group. And can you say more about that? Why women particularly?
It's a great question because the mind and the body kind of ecosystem, 80%. So like in China, most of these like transformation, mind body, self-awareness practice, all these 80% are women. And in resonance code, it's even more extreme. 95% are women.
Wow.
So we occasionally get one or two men. So in Chinese kind of astrology, people call the next 60 years the 中女时代, the middle women's age. Middle women meaning women of, like from 30 to 60, this, not the young women, not the old women, middle women age. So
thank you. I was smiling when I saw that because we have a French poet named Aragon who says that the future of men is women.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah. And the thing is, the few males who came find their way, they're lovely. And also you see that in the workshop there was this one older gentleman, and he has, most of the alchemy between him and the rest of women is so powerful and potent. Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank
have
you.
a perspective maybe for Alan.
Oh, Tom, yeah.
Hey, Spring, yeah. Hey, Alan, good to see you here too,
Good to
and
see you
many
too.
new other friends. I feel like Spring's work in China, I have been accompanying also in many of this periods, and she's sharing her work. Her work is her life. Her life's work. It's really one. And because she's a woman, her life is so unique to woman's inner and outer growth, the transformation journey. So that resonates mostly also with the, woman's view of their own life and Spring's life, being inspired of that. I think another one has also to do with this. Spring has so much explored and lived the truth of body, how the body can express our inner truth, and how our body is so integral part of our being, and that through the body you feel, and women's body. I don't want to be politically incorrect, but I think the body-wise, this body, resonating has also to do with women maybe more sensitive. I just compare with my relationship, how Spring and my husband respond to Spring's work. And a man is more mental. I think, it's difficult to drop into our body to feel the sense and felt sense of our being, Those are two things that.
So next time, if we can get your husband into this workshop, because the guy who came, he's never been to any of these kind of things. He's dragged by his wife, and we just watched him in 5 days. His shell like gradually healed off, and the last day, I mean, he turned into a different person.
Mm.
the,
I was
the,
asking that because I work a lot with elders, and but here in the States mostly, and we see a real hunger among elders, men elders, to awaken their sacred feminine.
Mhm.
Mm.
So that the gender difference is of course there, but we all have these components, these yin components in us
Mhm.
that can be awakened, and that may be one of the important steps in the future, because men are still controlling most things at this time.
Yeah. And the third element I noticed in China is also this, because of this high pressure of modern life,
Mm.
on the shoulder of men,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
more women, I mean, spiritual awakening to our truth, the women are more sensitive, receptive
Mhm.
to men. Even in other spiritual communities, you see also more women than men.
Mm.
Those are men who are really on the path, also has awakened their inner feminine.
Yes.
So it's quite
Good.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Ellen, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated with what you're talking about the ways in which, and I want to say the lack of governance within the eco village. And
Yeah.
having lived in a residential co-op for a period of time, I'm aware that at least in the Western culture, there are people who take care of things, and then there are people who opt out of community. And I'm
Mhm.
curious culturally how the eco village sets up the kind of the maintenance thing, because I'm thinking about all the things that we used to do in the co-op where we would have a monthly, work party, and we would take care of all kinds of things that just needed to be taken care of. I'm
Mhm.
curious how that was done there, and whether everyone participates in that, or if there were people who carried the load for most others, how that works.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I can't say I know 100% that question because it's very complex. You have to be part of the community to really know how it works, because it's been there for 10 years and there's many iterations, and it has a school, it has many infrastructure. But from what I gather is that this is a village that arises organically. So it's not like a group of people say, oh, we're gonna be this eco village and this is us, and let's figure out who does what. So it first of all, it has already have quite a bit of infrastructure there because there was a village. There was, like, you see, most of these houses were owned by people who lived there for many generations. So there's the basic needs of this village was already taken care of by whatever infrastructure was there. And then individual move in and they will figure out how to connect with the rest of the village through their connective tissue, what's their responsibility, what they're gonna do one by one. And if they don't fit, they're gonna gradually they can't survive there. So it's just like slowly morphing. It's kind of like growing off a forest, growing off a tree. It's just like morphed into this. And at the same time, there are definitely people who carry more loads, especially I feel like they are especially running into challenge in terms of the softer aspect of governance, like how to interface with government, how do we make collective decisions of something. They are struggled. They are aware of they need to evolve into some kind of governing body, but they also don't want to have, there are like, for example, in the village there are a few key members, but they don't want to call themselves the governing body, even though they take up lots of they felt the obligation and to serve the community. So it's an evolving process. Yeah. right. Another question? I take one more question before we move on to another part of China. Yeah, Joseph.
As
Joseph
you know,
and
Spring, my part of the journey with you started with the Resonance Code book and working from a base of a new way of working with the I Ching. And I'm wondering, in China, do you encounter people who do work with I Ching, or is it way in the background?
there are, and they are definitely not dominant culture. Because the dominant culture, like those big cities, they're pretty much governed by the Newtonian worldview. And there are lots of people who are interested in I Ching. And their orientation to it is also vastly different. So 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 that's the reason I chose not to even talk about like the I Ching portion of resonance code in China, except that in the last week, I did not intend to bring the I Ching portion of resonance code in China, but still it came out as an emerging opportunity that emerged. And yeah, it turned out that there are some people in the village who are very interested in I Ching and potentially interested in resonance code version of it. But I feel it's gonna be a very slow dance to see if we're gonna be together working. So I'm not pushing that aspect at all. Yeah, because also my take on I Ching is so unique and so I'd say feminine. I want to be very cautious because the I Ching is a territory that very, very heavily dominated by masculine energy in China.
Thank you, Spring.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So now we move to the next part of my journey. Oh, sorry. I think there was another hand, Vicky, right? Did you know? Okay. All right. So after 3 weeks in southern part of China, we moved to close to Shanghai. So and arriving at a completely different eco-village, not just different in geography, but style, characteristic. And so this eco-village is called the Liangzhu. And it's very famous. The reason it's famous is because it's a newly excavated archaeological site that was massive amount of archaeological objects showing the ruins of ancient city of dated 5,000 years. It's probably the earliest the archaeological site that's showing the earliest civilization of this scale, like a complete city and with different layers of social organization and including the technology of building dam. So here are some pictures of the kind of the recreation of the scene of imagine the scene of the ancient village. Here is an emblem. What do you call that? Emblem. Emblem of that civilization. which is now carved everywhere in in that place, because this has become the central government has created a protection zone because there's so much archaeological um, excavation that still needs to happen. Like basically, that place is sitting on ancient city. It's almost like the ancients are waking up, and through this archaeological excavation, and so now this emblem is lamp post, trail mark is everywhere. And when I first saw it, my first impression is, oh my God, this is a female god, with this like chamber in the belly and breast. However, when I went to the museum, the scholars don't agree with my intuition. But they don't have a consensus of what that is. But anyway, in my heart, to me, I'm going to take that as a female goddess. And the people in that, so the archaeological objects shown that people, like half of the people are left-handed, half people are right-handed, which is another interesting thing. And they are able to like carve really, really thin. I don't know, this is Stone Age, this is before Bronze Age. So I don't know how they can carve, like there's some really sophisticated technology. Like this piece is on a very small, it's a very small dimension, hair thin carving. And this is kind of the land feature of that place, lots of small rivers, wetland. And this is very close to where I was growing up. So arriving in that place is really like my body felt very at home. However, the village I was born outside Shanghai today was no longer, it was completely industrialized and concrete, cement. So I was very grateful that there's this protection zone that shielded this place again from the massive concrete. So this is this is an ancient altar, and my assistant and I visited this place, which is actually completely empty because most Chinese tourists don't quite understand what altar is, and that aspect of our culture is mostly still buried in the unconscious mind. So, but the energy there, because it energy there is so massive. The three of us were in a trance state, like dancing with the ancient ghosts. So most of these are rebuilt altar, and this portion is like we're literally looking at structures that built by people 5,000 years ago. So this portion was preserved as the way that was. And bamboo forests are around. So I want to show you a few pictures because the eco-village are mostly quite aesthetically nice, and people really care for it with the kind of consideration of nature and environment and beauty. But I also want to show you a few pictures of the street view right outside eco-village. Yeah, just kind of taking in, how the spectrum of experience. So a few more workshop scenes. So this is these two women who have been my primary collaborators in China. We have been producing, together we produced a 70 hours long interview, which is based on my journey of creating resonance code. Let's see, more workshop scenes. And I'm going to show you, let's see, Let's see, what's the next one? Hold on just a second. Sorry, I got stuck in PowerPoint zone. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to play another video that highlights just a little more background of the work I have been focusing on in China. What I've been focusing on is really how to enliven the body with natural expression. Because part of the kind of the I'd say the all that concrete that development happened not just on raw land, it also in the raw energy of our human body. And one way that is being reflected is in modern time, people are so inhibited from wild natural expression. So one way for me, one approach I think regenerate that is improvisational art. So improvisational move in a way and making sound in a way, making songs in a way that is not considered as good or pretty or anything, but just a natural expression. And out of that, something organic and some truth came out, the truth of being came out as an expression. So that has been what I've been primarily focusing on. And what I'm delighted to experience is that people are so ready, the energy is so pent up underneath the thin layer of social mask that as soon as given the opportunity, people are so ready to express in a wild way. So here's another video that give you a taste of that. And also, I do bring my songs there as a container for that kind of expression and encourage people to make their own songs. Seeing the video okay?
7、6、5、4、大地母亲，你给了我生命，天空父亲是光明的源泉，在天与地之间，我是一个孩子，我的歌声飞鸣，自在的翱翔。大地母亲，你给了我生命，天空父亲是光明的源泉，在天与地之间，是我独一的人格。火焰是我的意愿，雨水我的眼泪。赶紧起来了！小心，别担心，别让棒子，别让棒子，别让棒子，别让棒子，这是我妹妹，这是我妹妹，闪乱我的脊梁。大地母亲，你给了我生命，天空父亲是光明的源泉，在天与地之间，是我自由的灵魂，雷霆我的力量，风带我回家，雷霆我的力量。
Okay. All right. So take another break from storytelling and see if there's any questions, comments, what has brought up you. Yeah, Vicky.
I was just going to say it was so wonderful to see Howl Magic in China.
So how magic is a improvisation singing activity that a few of like Vicky and Stephen has been to in Bellingham that I held in Joe and I held in our living room. Yes, yeah. Alan.
What is the age range among your students? It's
I'd
hard to
say,
say.
yeah. So in this workshop, actually mostly younger generation, like from like early 30 to 40.
Early 30.
But
Okay.
in the 5 years, the people who have followed my followed the resonance code was around late 40 to 50 or to,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I
So
love that energy.
yeah,
It's doing that
yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Yeah, hi, Spring, and everyone. Good to see you, and thanks for sharing all this, your story. And the question I have, it's a little broad. It's around, let's see, your invitations, or in modern days, your marketing of things like this. What is it that you say that attracts people to come to this? In other words, like, how do you articulate the benefits of attending such a workshop, if at all?
It's really difficult actually. Uh, I mean, the words, to answer it shortly, the words like life force is a big word. Regenerate your life force, expression, creativity, these are big force. Medicine, connecting to like in so like English words, like higher power, the kind of something beyond us. In Chinese, the a buzzword is multi-dimensional power, and a power that's beyond this known dimension. Let's see what else. It's always I don't think I've dialed it, and also it's not just the words. In China, the modern marketing, people pumping out short videos, like people who have that kind of resource. Those are the people who attract most of the attention, and I don't have that kind of resource to pumping out short videos. You kind of have to like flood people with this, streams of information, and we're very small, so I'm mostly just run by word of mouth. That's my primary. Yeah. Who I know and who they connected to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate all that. And a related question, if I could,
Yeah.
around the interpersonal benefits, quote unquote, of doing this practice. Most of what you just said seemed to appeal to the individual and what's going on with them. But I get a sense that there's some strong interpersonal things going on in the room, and that people who practice in this way may be better able to cultivate interpersonal connection. Is that something that's consciously woven into your work?
That's always present in Chinese culture. Like the part of the reason that part of the reason that China, how do I say that? In China, what you just said is like it goes without saying, of course. There's not such a strong separation of, oh, this is personal work and this is interpersonal work. People are almost like, a lot of the time in our workshop, I facilitate people to feel their body in a way, or feel touching another person, exchange touch. And I ask them to reflect what that means to them. They immediately would apply it to interpersonal relationship.
Beautiful.
I don't even need to like guide that. It's
Mhm.
that sense of the self is a relationship with other, is ingrained into
Yeah, that
culture.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So that part goes like really propagate really fast into interpersonal relationship.
Great, thanks.
Gary. Hi, Gary. Haven't seen you for a long time. You are muted.
Sorry about that.
Mm.
That is such a moving video.
Mm.
And I guess my observation about it might be that somehow in China you're able to, I'm pretty sure something like that could happen in America, but maybe not quite as easily or automatically, because American culture is so deeply rooted in individualism, hyper individualism.
Yeah.
And so deeply rooted in ego.
Yeah.
And something about Chinese culture
Yeah.
Has managed to avoid that.
Yeah.
Your thousands of years of culture has cultivated you something else.
Yeah.
And that's what's so beautiful about it, because you create this relational space.
Yes.
And to me, the term that I'm fond of using is a culture of life.
Yeah.
It feels so alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Gary. And I know that you've spent quite a bit of your time in Asian culture, and maybe that's what you picked up really. This is something what you said resonate with me really deeply, is that I long so much for being in a group in that way with people, and it's very, very sparse in the United States. And being back in that atmosphere was very deeply like meets my need and meets a hunger in me. And
May I add though that yes, there are lots of ways to cultivate relationality in American culture, dialogic process, out on the edge of creating a relational space, a field, but the movement adds such a dimension to it,
yeah,
that feels, to embody it that way,
yeah,
the seed of a culture of life to me.
yeah, totally. And I wanted, I'm doing my best in the United States, in where I live, to create that. Masumi, she's from my Tai Chi class, and I branded as Tai Chi, and we do two Tai Chi, but we break Tai Chi up and try to bring this kind of interaction and ways to in the Tai Chi class, and people love it. And once people taste what it is, they recognize that, because all of our ancestors came from that relational state. But I think in the United States, there's so many mental hurdles that block us from getting there. It's yeah.
Another quick question.
Yes.
I am touched by the joyfulness that is expressed, not just in words, but in movements, etc. And that's why I asked the question about age. For me, I associate that joyfulness to younger ages, adolescents, able to laugh together, etc. So, do you sense that in this full expression of the body, etc., there is also, I don't know whether the notion of soul exists in Chinese culture, but I sense that the soul is touched not just the body, the heart. What is your sense of that? Is consciousness raised in the process that you are, or it's just re-enlivened, as Gary said?
So first, let me the first question, age. So I find that women in their 50s are equally capable of being this joyful.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the first workshops are people with older age, and they are in fact most of them are relieved their family, their children has grown up. They become more, you can be more abandoning.
Agreed.
And the second question, I didn't quite. Can you?
Well, in this expression of joy, for me, I associate joy also, of course, with the full life of the body, etc. But also there is a connection with spirit, with a higher level of consciousness that is expressed sometimes. Do you think that's present in what you witness or invite?
It cannot not be present.
Indeed.
It cannot not be present.
Yeah.
It's always present. And the Chinese word, in Chinese medicine, the Hun and the Po, the ethereal soul and corporeal soul. So the wellness of the human is the balance and the intergeneration of these two aspects of the soul.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Danielle, I appreciate your comments about in American, in fact, I actually benefited a lot from the marginalized culture in the United States, where I was able to maintain that embodied connection with a group, with other people that has kept my soul alive. Mimi, please.
Hi, Spring. Long time no see. And
Yeah.
I resonated with that observation of the quality of joy, and then that doesn't just occur to the younger generation. And when I was watching and listening, also I was reminded of a memory a long time ago. My mom is a dance educator for 30, 40 years. And there's one time she was asked to actually teach a group of women from a farming community, like way outside of Shanghai. And I was in college, and I was dragged by her to go and videotape. That was my, I was the free labor. So I was very curious, what can she teach a group of women that never had music education, or, she can't teach classical Chinese move. And, I was stunned by the quality of joy that day when I saw the women are, 50s and 60s, 70s, where, oh my God, they learned this, traditional Chinese drum dance that is so innate to them. It's like the joy is, it's not like my mom's teaching them something. It's literally you just awaken what they have already inside together, connected to their community and to each other. And when they show up, it may not be like the most refined move, but like the joy and the power was so palpable. So as I was watching your video, that was what reminded me, was like,
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. That's exactly my experience. It's almost like there's a lid. You just need to take off the lid. It's like come out of people. I think people like my generation, my formative year before I was teenager, the culture has not been focused so much on ego formation. So like people of 50, my generation, it's that part of us that stores this ancient memory that's connected with this the earthly joy is still there. It's so ready, it's so easy to be just revealed. And I think, in fact, I extend to everyone. my experience even working, in the United States, if I get to have people trust the container enough to just try a few things, with the trust, everyone can awaken that ancient memory in the body with the right container. Yeah.
Is there a tradition of collective dances in China? In the sense, I'm trying to compare what I'm learning about the indigenous perspective, worldview, where dancing and singing together is absolutely a way of
Yeah.
life. And,
Yeah,
and
totally.
did that exist in China as well?
Yeah,
In the
there's,
traditional China?
yeah, there are a lot, and Tai Chi and Qigong, these are all
Yes.
part of our ritual. What I introduced though has a flavor that comes from the Western culture, which is the freedom to improvise,
Ah, yeah.
and I feel like that sits at the nexus of the tradition and the creativity brought by the individuality that's already both in Chinese people. The Chinese kind of like culture embody both. So that combination is very potent. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you can improvise in a way that also strengthens the relational field. Improvise
Yes.
not just, oh, I just close my eyes, do what I want. That's not the improvisation art is also can be very relational.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, I'm just seeing people on the screen, and Stephen, would you like to share them? You don't have to, but I'm just inviting people on the screen, and I see.
Yeah, thanks, Spring. I'm trying to figure out how to turn it on. Yeah, I mean, for me, the most affecting parts of this whole thing have been the videos accompanied by your music. It's so powerful. I find myself wincing a little when but then Spring, you actually addressed this, that there is culture like this in the United States. There's a lot of it, and and yeah, maybe it is marginalized or whatever. But what I connect with is not like, oh wow, this is possible in China. What I dig is that this is going on all over the world. This kind of improvised, arts-based connecting with people. And it's been going on since at least the 70s. And, probably before that in all kinds of ways. And so it's wonderful to see something I recognize and have been part of for decades, and to see it in China, just like it was wonderful to experience it in different parts of Europe too. So I kind of love that vision, that it's going on all over the place. I don't know what the percentage is, but you know, population in
Yeah.
China is pretty high. It's probably not that high of a percentage that's doing what you're doing, just like in the US, if you look at it that way. But if you look at it as activity that's new and refreshing and improvisational, and it's distributed around the globe right now, then you can feel that it's a movement. And there's a lot of hope I feel in that.
Yeah, appreciate that perspective. One thing I want to share is that because of my connection with the Qixi village, so this billionaire couple, so so the woman, the Lin Jie, she like really lit up by this practice. She's never done anything like that. Her, because of the world she's swimming in, it's all quite, performative, extremely performative. And she was just completely absorbed by this. I actually went back to the village and lived with them for another month, and she was doing it almost every day. And she brought a group of business women, and I mean, by the end of the 2 hours, they are all crawling on the floor and just laugh the heads off themselves. And this is one thing that I missed I haven't find in United States or is that this readiness to cross the culture and class boundary, to find the people who, I've dabbled a lot in the kind of in the alternative cultural space in the United States, dance, theater, movement. But Linjie, like being an entrepreneur, she said, this is important, this is valuable, and I want to bring this to my peers. This is the first time I experienced something like that. Yeah. Alan.
So Spring, you were sort of tapping into that. My question as I was thinking it, which is lovely. Clearly this journey this immersion that you took to China affected you deeply in some massive way. I know it must have. It must have affected you very deeply. What do you feel that you have brought back from that experience that you feel can be actually applied or used or helpful to you in what you're bringing into the Western world? I'm curious how, if that's even emerged for you or not, or if you've tapped into that at all. I think you know what I'm asking.
Yeah. You're asking basically the next episode.
Yeah, that's right. Where are you gonna take this, Spring? Where are you gonna go?
Episode number 2. So
yeah.
I was gonna save this I have a little bit of my family picture to show you, but I think since Alan asked that question, I can just answer that now. I actually was gonna stay in China for 2 months, but then I extended another 3 weeks. I did not want to come back. I felt like if I stayed, my life could just, another timeline could just started open up in China. I got invitation to do this and do that and stay there. But Joe is, I want to come back to see Joe, and my parents live in the United States. So I got on airplane, and that time, American has invaded Venezuela. And I came back to the United States, and the ice is raining. And for the first 3 weeks, I was just, like, why am I? I just, it's really hard to land back. So one thing that happened right before I left for China was that my colleague in Bellingham my colleague Sarah and we've been work on community building in Bellingham for the last 2 years, and really work with government agencies, networks that's concerned about the public health. And we got invited to apply for a grant to sponsor us to do a 8-month-long work in Bellingham and Whatcom County to address public health with this kind of work. And I was actually writing that proposal at 30,000 feet from US to China because they want that grant like in 2 weeks. So I had to write it on airplane. And then it was about 2 weeks ago, we were told that we were given this money to do this work. So that has really helped me to, when I first heard it, I was actually really heartbroken because that means I can't just pack up and go to China. I never thought things would this would be the script, like how things will play out this way. But I can't say no to it because that's like the fruit of my last 15 years of work is to Stephen, like the things that I love, the improvisation, singing, dancing, and my old background, I was a PhD in molecular biology, and I have a master in public health, actually, biostatistics. And I want this to connect. I don't want, it's not satisfying for me just to dance on the edge of the society. I want to dance at the center of the society. And this is an invitation for me to do this work. So because this matters, to dance, to feel that freedom of joy, to me matters like life and death right now. It's not entertainment, it's not hippie, it's not margin, it's the absolute, for me, the center of life. So here's this invitation, and this, so we opened up an application, and we have, money hasn't arrived yet, but we already opened up application. Within 1 hour, within 1 week, actually less than 1 week, our class is full. And part of this is that we're offering not just only for free, but also a small stipend to participants. And people goes like, how much does this cost? I said, no, it doesn't cost anything. In fact, we're going to compensate you for you to come here, because this is important. You're doing this is that's important to my life, to my ancestor, to the spirit of the earth, and to this foundation who's willing to sponsor us. We're still applying for more money because they didn't give us the full, we're still a little short of the budget. But this is really, really encouraging. And this is a dream I held for all my life, to see the East-West coming together. I feel like I've been allowing the wisdom of the East to flower in the West, in my community that I live in. And I delighted to bring the seeds of freedom, the freedom and creativity offered through individuality, and have that light up the spirit of people in China who were able to dance and sing through their own impulse. So, yeah. So thank you, Ellen, for that question. Yeah. And I really appreciate Bellingham community, because this work, the fruition of this work, is not just me and Sarah an expression of it, but we met so many people in Whatcom County who are recognizing that public health, health is not just about feeding people with medicine chemicals. It's about a relationship. And this awareness is so strong in this community I live. So I'm just really grateful. I feel very blessed. And I see many of them actually in today's call. Yeah. Frank, you are one of them. Would you like to say something?
Oh, holy crows. There's so many pieces of this presentation. Yeah, I have to say right off the start, I was when you showed that big city, it sort of put me in this. I mean, it's like maybe millions of people. I don't know, in that town.
18 million.
Yeah, and then and then to go from there to this smaller group where something was really happening, I think I felt a lot of compassion for people who were, and just both really, but as a metaphor for how many of us everywhere, or what percentage of my own life is caught up in the high-rise craziness. And it was funny, I have to admit, like within 15 minutes, I sort of wanted to sign off and go for a walk. Like I'm seeing the woods outside the door going, yeah, let's go do that. And
Yeah.
and also it's funny, I had this a lot's been on my mind about if I can just weigh in on this little piece. And I was just, taking some notes here too, this idea of men and women and yin and yang and nature and nurture and different aspects. And this comes up in my work too. And I feel like, and Diana had this long discussion about, did we I mean, how much of this is the way we raised our children to have certain kind of elements because you're a boy, we're raising you this way, or our culture is saying that? And I don't know the answer to that. You know, what's nature and what's nurture? So I was thinking a bunch about that too, but just as a person to try to allow all the aspects of all people and everybody's genius and energies to come forward and the beautiful mix of yings and yangs and elements that they are. And I think one of the gift of knowing many gender queer and gender fluid people now is breaking down those structures and context and assumptions and feeling a little bit more into like kind of even when I watched the bodies, I was going, all those even the gender stuff, can we loosen up in the nature way and allowing I just wondered how much even me as a man gets trapped, cisgender white male in America gets trapped in constructs of which I'm not even conscious. And so it's funny, you didn't talk about that so much in your work, but I love that idea of the world, the earth coming through our bodies. And we brought up the thing about the Dalai Lama and men and women and the group. And so you can see a lot of stuff was moving for me in your presentation. So, I mean, there's a lot of I feel like you've touched on so many pieces.
Yeah.
Also, there's the whole thing about my just total curiosity about China, like, and how much, ancient, my understanding of Taoism, and we've had these discussions, Spring, this ancient wisdom tradition that has been birthed from this part of our human experience is so intriguing to me, and that's sort of coming through as well. So
Yeah.
did you want just one thing, Spring? I don't know. There's a lot going on for me, and
Yeah.
I'm resonating with the joy of it all too. So this was, yeah,
Mm.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. In Chinese medicine, actually, regardless like of female or male physiology, the body actually energetic wise is a is always the interaction of yin and yang. Thank you, Gary. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we will reconnect. So I think that's why I think in China, even though China, the gender, the American version of gender role is very what's the word? Like there's not much talk about gender fluidity at all, even in but that's because there's another layer of another dimension of the yin and the yang, and how the awareness of the body is naturally an expression of both yin and yang. In fact, like it's all for people who are into Chinese medicine, the women have to, not the women have to, but the it's just a very naturally ingrained traditional knowledge, like for women to keep women, for example, our menstrual cycle healthy, you have to keep you have to keep yang energy in your belly. So, so that natural kind of polarity, the duality, the interaction of polarity is already present in the culture, but not in the way that American gender politics is. So yeah, and that's something that can be easily missed by Western English speaking people. If you look at China, oh my God, this like gender role is so traditionally, yes, it is, and there's something more that's invisible to English speaker.
So wow, yeah, more.
Yeah.
Love to dive into that some more.
Yeah.
When the time's right.
Yeah. Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, this what a how wonderful that you had this journey that you've made, created this journey for yourself, and were able to share with these people you've been working with for so long, and sharing the joy with you. It's thank you for sharing it with us. And I was thinking mostly about young ones. Having been a preschool teacher and a mother, there's such joy and freedom before all the roles are laid on children. And exploration. Life is an adventure. Every minute is an adventure, with young ones, and and we can do a lot to learn from that. And I was fortunate to be in a preschool and elementary setting where the child was the director and we followed. That's not the usual. Very early, even, they start pushing numbers and in most schools now, and there's no room left for that vital exploration in a typical school here in the West, and perhaps there in China. I don't know. It sounds like so that I think is and then after teaching preschool for years and the joy of that. I moved into teaching yoga. I was invited to do that in a studio where I'd been practicing, and I got to play with adults. So I brought that improv that was just natural and playful, and it was just because here are these people from the West trained in this Asian medicine and so serious and trying to be spiritual and copying this thing that we don't even know half of, to begin with, and then to bring in the improv and sense into our bodies. How does it say take three different postures, and how does your body feel in this, or how does it want to tweak it, or it just that can be a joyous experience that helps leave an opening in the rest of your life as well. A practice, but also then a more of an orientation that you carry with you. So that I was thinking of that and what you were doing.
Yeah.
Groups of girls feel safer together. Yes, that's true. I wonder why, given the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course. But I've seen it in and it's mostly women who have been interested in that it typically that I'm up until there is more out in the open gender fluidity now, and I was so glad to see it celebrated it's like the Super Bowl halftime. Wow, Benito, brava. Talking about joy is not talking about acting and living joy as resistance. We can't let that kind of hope and vitality go. So that, yeah, that's you've got other players with you.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your East and West I don't know, the yin and yang of it, and the yin and yang of each playing together, and the many configurations you've got. So yeah,
Yeah.
great to
Thank you for your comments, Michelle. I know we're approaching the end. People are signing off. I just want to show one more picture of my family because this is like a huge in my family. It's the first time my dad has 9 siblings, and he came from a very extremely let's say he grew up in very primitive condition. Like it's the first time I felt and experienced that condition, and just the impact was very huge. And because he left that remote village and came to the city, and while I was in China, most of time while I was living in China, it would take 5 days to 3 days of train, 2 days of bus, and then walk to this village. So I was never able to visit most of these relatives. So for most of our time, we lived in different world. I'm highly educated. I have so much more privilege compared to them, with access to abundance and access, and they had very little for most of their life. and they welcomed me with such warmth. And I was able to visit my grandparents' grave site and pay my homage to them. So I just want to share that part of the journey with you. So yeah, so I'm with my cousins. So these two cousins used to be construction workers living in China and working really like in really harsh conditions, but they have great spirit, always jovial, and so this is my father's ancestral house. This house was built about more than 100 years ago. It used to be full of people. Like at the peak of it, there are 100 people living in this complex compound, but now it's almost entirely empty. This is one aunt who stayed behind, and this is her kitchen, and this is just the empty rooms of the house. And here's a picture of my grandfather, who's a Chinese medicine doctor. And here's me visiting the gravesite. And I was surprised to discover that on the grave ingrained the name of all the offsprings. When someone died, all their children, their children's spouse, their grandchildren's spouse name were all on there. So my name was actually on this piece of stone on this gravesite. And I took a cover, I copied the cover of my books and laminated and put it on the gravesite because I chose not to have children in I express my life creativity in different ways. And that book is a surrogate of my children energy. So I put it on my ancestors' site. So these are my aunts and aunties and the big banquet and some young blood, the children of the next generation. So this child, she's only 4 months old, but I am actually her grandma, grand auntie, grand auntie. Yeah. So I think this is yeah. Yeah, we have a few minutes left. So if anyone wants to offer any comments, especially people who haven't spoken, maybe Clayton or Diane or Elizabeth, or if you haven't spoken, if you would like to say something, please feel free.
I'll go ahead, Spring. Just thank you for sharing this story. It feels so profound, and the change in you feels profound. It's just so interesting as you are speaking. I just feel the energy shift for you having gone back. And one of the most moving parts of it for me was hearing you sing, and not that I understood a word of what you were singing, but I felt it throughout my whole body, and just it was beautiful. And so thank you for this opportunity to share your journey.
Thank you, Diane.
I'd like to thank you, Spring. This is beautiful. It's organic. I feel the moving of it all here, just in this morning here in New Zealand. And I'm grateful. And it's a blessing to be in this midst, knowing these wonderful things are happening in our bodies, and that we have many bodies, not just our physical.
Yes.
And thank you, and be blessed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Clayton.
Yeah, I simply also want to thank you for sharing what you've shared. There's just a lot moving through as I have been listening and seeing different components of this, of both your journey to China and your teaching in different ways, and it touches me in lots of different ways. It brings me. I used to live in China for several years, but in the city. I loved when I went to the western part of China, actually, and So in also ecosystem places, I used to live also, not in China, but So there's just a lot there that I think will continue to sit with me somehow. The East and the West, and how to integrate. So thank you.
Thank you.
I also like to join into the thank yous. Spring, it feels like some sort of reconnection here, witnessing your journey. It's such an amazing biography you're living, and that is most impressive. What touches me is our shared mission in connecting East and West. I'm coming from the West, try to connect working in China, and build a bridge from this side. And you are moving along this bridge all the time. It's very impressive to witness your journey. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for your work to connect East and West. Masumi.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
I would like to say something about Spring's weekly gathering to practice Tai Chi. I've been her student last 2 years, and then I feel very privileged to have met Spring. You know what? I feel like, we've been hearing about the East and West cultural difference. Originally I'm from Japan, but it seems to me that she provides Sunday morning class. She provided this open spaciousness where we can cultivate. We are encouraged to cultivate our sensitivity to this life energy, which unite all of us. All cultural conditioning, labels we carry with us. It's just the labels, and then underneath there is this huge cultural, a universal energy which connect all of us. And actually, that's, I believe, we are all one. And then our class, she really, encourage us, and then show us how to be awakened to this universal life energy, so that we can somehow express ourselves from the one place, one source. And then I'm just so grateful that we meet once a week, Sunday morning, and I wish all of you could join our Sunday class. It's really fun. We laugh, we bounce around, and of course we follow, Tai Chi forms. But more than that, her class really encouraged us to be connected. All this life energy, which unite all of us. That's what I feel about. Thank you, Spring.
Oh, Masumi, I'm so proud of your articulation. Wow. Yeah, and we have 3 Tai Chi class every week, so not just
That's
Sunday. So if you are local, come to our class.
I would like to add my thanks, Spring. I have spoken several times before, but I'm very touched, and I just feel, as I was listening to you and you were was talking about the the deep sources of wisdom in China. I feel that one of my life was in China, way back, and I'm reconnecting with some of it at this time, and this feel like a beautiful synchronicity. One more in these weeks, which are so important. I think we're witnessing something new trying to emerge worldwide, and thank you for adding your very precious stone to it.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah. Yes, I recognize your Chinese past. Yeah.
Where can we access information regarding the Tai Chi?
Are you in Bellingham?
I am in New Zealand.
Well, my partner and I are I'm gonna start to produce some videos of this kind of practice online.
Yes.
But you know,
Yes.
it's not gonna be the same in person, because in person we do a lot of interactive
Yes.
things that
Thank you.
can only happen in relation in the same space. But
Yes.
yeah, if you follow my Substack channel, springcheng.com, eventually once we got the videos, it will be on that website.
Thank you, Spring.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Mark, if you want to say anything as an invitation, you don't have to, but I'm just saying anyone else who has their video, if you want to say anything.
I could say something. I'm very aware of the mental prison that I live in as a male and as a human being, and it's kind of my task to figure out to move beyond that, out of this mental prison. Like you, Spring, I feel this great longing, and for a very long time, I have felt this pull to rural China, rural village life in China, and that longing for the community that you showed us, and the joy between the people was very moving for me, and it brings up a great sadness in me. Joy, happiness to see it, and a lot of sadness because I'm still in this effort to leave my box. I've told you in the past, Spring, I have seen you as a possible teacher for this phase of my life, but you're not doing online work. I have worked a lot with immigrant communities in ESL. I was an ESL teacher, English as a second language, and I taught a lot in Chinatown, Oakland, California, with adults, mostly from Guangzhou province, sometimes 40 Chinese people at once. And I felt that joy at every minute in them, and the great appreciation for the teacher. And I felt the ancient wisdom in they're not effusive, but I could feel the ancient wisdom there at every moment. One time I was teaching a class of Chinese and other Asian women, adults, and at the intermission, they just broke out at the break in the class. They started dancing, and I knew there's a whole history and tradition of collective dance in China, and there's lots of videos to see. So, and Danielle's comment, I don't know if she's still here, but I'm very in tune also with that beauty in the immigrant and marginalized cultures. I worked and lived in the Mexican community, and I felt they're a totally different energy than Chinese, but equally beautiful. And I'll say finally, I went to Eritrea in East Africa to teach one summer, a few years after the Civil War, 30-year Civil War ended. And it's such an old soul culture, like China. so much wisdom and so much heart-based. I constantly felt in an inferiority complex by how much love was there, and that I can't, and I was confronted with my own selfishness. You know, it was generous to go and volunteer there, but I was confronted with that. And of course, that's a wonderful learning experience, to be confronted with one's own barriers and to see one's next moment of growth. And finally, Spring, I didn't respond to your email 2 years ago. So, sorry, I'm going through a very extended life crisis and trying to birth my next phase of creativity and making a difference in a beautiful and hurting world. And I just couldn't respond. But thank you for your personal email. If you remember 2 years ago, but I'm in Iowa City, like where you were, you know.
Yeah.
I live near Hy-Vee North Dodge, if you know where that is.
Okay.
Thank you for it was a really very beautiful presentation. Every second of it was wonderful. And all the comments of all the people in the chat, wonderful people. So
thank you all. Thank you all. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think the time's up, and thank you all for coming. And this is fun, and I would love. I'm thinking I will do more of Zoom gathering. If you want to follow my updates, please check springcheng.com, and be well, and may your body be well. May your body dancing with the earth, with the heartbeat of the earth.